Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show in innovative teamwork. Glad to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. Shout out to podmatch.com again. I have another great guest, thanks to podmatch.com, that has taken all the legwork and all the administrative work, all the logistical work out of actually finding guests and has gotten my show back to, being a show that regularly has guests and not just a bunch of solo episodes. As much as I love doing solo episodes, I also like having guests as well. Today we have Matthew Fornaro, who, by the time you guys are hearing this, it'll be probably a couple months past Father's Day, but we are actually recording this the day before Father's Day. And, when I heard your story, Matthew, earlier, you talked a little bit about your influence, the influence that your father had on you when it came to what you wanted to do, and in regards to just helping small businesses and how you kind of transitioned from helping big businesses to small businesses. So I think the best way to kind of start things off is to just kind of give us a little bit about your background, where you're from, what you do now, and how you got into the element of, helping small business owners, particularly out here. I'm in South Florida as well, particularly out here in South Florida, how you got into just helping small business owners, do things the right way and, get their businesses off the ground. So the floor is yours, man.
Sure. Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me today. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there when they hear this. So I got started being an attorney 21 years ago. I went to, I knew I wanted to be an attorney growing up. So I went to the University of Florida for law school. I came out and I started working with one firm in Boca Raton, and then I started working for two large AmLaw 200 law firms, working on primarily like commercial litigation and other business litigation, but usually helping large businesses, banks, and large organizations. So I had the opportunity almost 10 years ago now to go out on my own, and I took it, and I wanted to focus on helping small and medium-sized businesses because I felt that they were underserved by quality legal representation that had the level of sophistication that they needed for their businesses. And like you referenced in the setup before, one of my influences was that when I was growing up, my dad had a small business. Now he's retired. Luckily, he did pretty well. So, but in seeing him do all the stuff that was associated with running a small business and all the trials and tribulations that he went through and all the things that he did made me want to, when I had the opportunity to help other small and medium-sized businesses be able to do that. That's what I've done now for 9 years.
So what would you say is myself included, my father has ran his own business. He's been a small business owner before I even started high school. I remember actually being in 8th grade, helping him moving from his office that he had partners, and then having his own office. So I definitely resonate with you on that end when it comes to watching your father do all of the things that actually having a small business entails. It is a lot for you guys. If you don't run a small business, or if you do, you guys already know it is a lot of different hats you have to wear. What would you say, as someone that has had the experience of dealing with big businesses and small businesses, what would you say is the difference in the psyche? Because you kind of referenced the fact that small businesses are very underserved when it comes to the legalities of things. When it comes to like the mindset it takes to run a small business versus the mindset it takes to be in a big business, what would you say are kind of the biggest differences that you've seen in your experiences?
Well, in big business, I think the fact that it's so big, and like the concept of too big to fail, like it's its own entity that has its own momentum and its own thing, and everything is kind of built into how it runs. Like obviously, if you have a big business, you're going to have like a legal department or outside counsel, or you're going to have an accounting department or outside accountant, or you're going to have a board of directors, and you're going to have board of advisors, things like that. That same setup needs to apply to a small business, but it's harder to do when you're the only guy or you've got like, under 10 employees to be able to do that. So that's kind of the difference, is that the large size the size of a large business leads to it being more, not bureaucratic, but more business compliant than a small business where the onus is on like one guy to do everything or two guys to do everything or whatever. So I would say that's what the difference is.
And so, what would you say would be a first step? So, let's say someone now is listening in and they run a small business, and or they're in a big business and they don't feel like they're being heard, because that's what I've found with a lot of people who are in big businesses, and kind of similar to your story, where they kind of feel like there's more they can be doing and they want to have more authority. Where would you say is the first step for them to go when it comes to actually making the small business feasible and profitable and enough for them to actually, make a living off of?
Well, the first thing that you should do is when you either start up a business or inherit a business or whatever you want to call it to get into small businesses, you should have a written business plan. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like your guideline and your map on how your business is run. Like it's got all your information in it. It's got what your target demographics are. It's got
Mm-hmm.
who's in the business. It's a written business plan. Like it can be up to, like it can be anything from like 5 to 100 pages, depending on what you want. So before you
Mm-hmm.
started doing anything, I advise you have a written business plan, because you also need that written business plan. If you're going to ever go to a bank and want to borrow money, they're going to want to see if you have a written business plan. So before
Mm-hmm.
you do anything else, my advice is to set up and draft a written business plan before you even start doing anything.
Okay, so when the business plan is written, though, because, and this is what I've actually learned, because I've written business plans myself, I've multiple business plans, and some things that I've heard from other colleagues as well, is you have to show someone, like, you just being the only one to write it and, think everything is going to work. There needs to be some like people that can hold you accountable, can say this would work, this isn't going to work, and things like that. So when it comes to writing the business plan, the next step, would you say, would it be to find someone like you, find legal representation? How would you kind of advise them after the business plan is written on there, like the first draft, I should say?
Yeah, so once you have your business plan in place, while you're moving along, going from concept to reality, I would link up with trusted professionals. Now, it's not just one professional, it's a group of professionals. So I would reach out to a business law attorney like myself. I'd
Mm-hmm.
reach out to an accountant. I'd reach out to a business banker. And then if you really need it or you feel like you need it, reach out to someone else who's in business to act as a mentor
Right.
or just a sounding board or something like that. So I would reach out to all those people, show them your business plan so they can help you refine it and revise it, and then get their input as to how you should, you've got the idea for the business, but how you should implement it. They'll help you with that.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because that piece is really, really important. Again, when you have an idea, you have an idea in your own head. And in many ways, you can hinder yourself by just thinking your own idea works. But until you go out and, talk to strangers, talk to professionals, like you referenced, making sure you're around people that have been there and done that, then you can start to see that concept become a reality. And the rewarding feeling when that happens, it truly is a rewarding feeling. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. And that feeling of really seeing your idea through and working it is an excellent, excellent feeling. And Matthew, I wanna make sure we get this in. Are there any businesses out there that have come to you, any like testimonials, any examples that you can give of businesses that you've helped, especially out here in the South Florida area, so that way if anybody's listening, they'll be able to kind of reference them and reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I have a lot of clients who have helped over the years. So, I mean, there's not, just one in particular. I mean, there's lots of clients who have helped from before the inception of their business through the course of running their business. So I've helped out small businesses, I've helped out solo businesses, I've helped out startups, I've helped out a bunch of different businesses. And, it's all pretty much the same formula of,
Right.
trusting, lack of a better term, trusting the process and going through all the stuff and making sure you have all your things in order and you go through all the steps.
Right. Was there a like when you reach out to the or when these businesses reach out to you, was there like a common kind of a common problem or a common challenge that everyone is going through that is going to come up when you're running a small business, or is it everything is a different challenge for every single business because everything is different?
Generally speaking, it's
Right.
each business is different and each business has its own specific needs and issues and problems. But I would say that one issue
Mm-hmm.
or one theme that I would put into all businesses is that when they start out, they either don't have the written business plan or they don't have, if they're a corporation, they don't have corporate bylaws or articles of incorporation, or if they're an LLC, they don't have an operating agreement. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that that's a common problem. From being in Florida, all you have to do is just go on sunbiz.org and spend 5 minutes and spend $70 and you have a business,
Mm-hmm.
or I say a business organization. And that's literally the bare minimum, but there's a lot more that goes into it. And a reoccurring theme that I see is that people just do, go on to Sunbiz or go into whatever it is in whatever state they are, go to their Secretary of State Division of Corporations and just file something online and think that that's all there is to do and that there's no other steps into having a business. But it's not the case because you have to have all your governing documents, because just like how your business plan is kind of the roadmap, how the whole thing works, your articles of incorporation and your um operating agreement and stuff is the roadmap of how you actually run your business legally and
Mm-hmm.
what the obligations and responsibilities are and what happens if those things aren't done. And that's another thing that you need to show third parties, like a bank, if you're going to get a loan, or that's another thing that you need to actually follow or do if you ever get involved in a lawsuit.
Yeah, not only that, but even like just grants and even just finding angel investors. I'm not sure if you actually remember, but the Super Bowl was actually here. It was the year before COVID. I believe it was 2019. And, I was actually working for the Dolphins Foundation at the time. And one of the things that they put on like a lot of business seminars in which there were actual angel investors, people that were willing to come. Like they put on those type of networking events. And one of the things that was a requirement just to actually register, Matt, was you have to have, I believe, LLC, or you had to have it registered with certain articles, that a lot of the stuff that you had just mentioned. And if it wasn't, like, they had certain like certain requirements for every business that people registered for just to get an investment. So even if you don't want to go the bank route, the people who are actually serious and can, write you a check on the spot, these are a lot of the things. These are going to be the questions that they ask. So as listeners, it's very, very important that you get your paperwork straight. I'm always one of the ones that says, look, make sure there's an actual audience for what it is you want to do. Make sure there's actual sales being generated for what it is you want to do. But after that, yes, it is so very important that those documents and those tax IDs and all that, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So I can't tell you how important it is for, a lot of men like yourself to do what it is you do that helps these small business owners specifically, because you just said it. They wear a lot of hats, they do a lot of work, and it's a shame to see so much work go to waste because their paperwork just wasn't straight. And that happens all the time. And a lot of times it's, because they don't even know people like you exist, man.
No,
As small business owners, they just, they do what they got to do. So with all that, I do want to be very respectful of your time. I want to thank you for the flexibility today. I know I changed the time on you in the last minute. Is like, what's next? What do you say is kind of the next phase for you? And, how can people get in touch with you and all that? Feel free to plug away now.
sure. So, I'm just busy doing my business law things. So I'm going to continue doing that and continue to revise my own business because in addition to actually being a business lawyer, I run my own business. So I
Mhm.
preach what I teach and I do stuff like that. So I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. I'm integrating more technology and more AI into what I do, and it's making things a lot easier. So that's something I also encourage my clients to get into, but that's a little more specific on how to implement like
Mhm.
technology and AI into your stuff. But you
Absolutely. I
want
mean, listen, we've had multiple people on this show that, I mean, one, I think they're now writing books on in AI. So I, I re-emphasize that for a reason. If you're not getting, especially business owners, if you're not getting into some AI or utilizing AI in some way, at least being aware of it, it's coming. It is coming, man. It is
yeah,
so like if you're not utilizing that thing, man, you're gonna have a problem in just a few months because so much of business is being run through AI, so people can actually do what they are called to do, what they're great at. They kind of let AI handle everything else. So my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Just when people start talking that language, I get a little excited. So
yeah,
go
no,
ahead, man.
I get excited too because AI is, obviously it's here and you need
Yeah.
to you have to integrate it into your business in order to remain competitive and in order to remain relevant. So
Mhm.
if you want to reach me, the easiest way to reach me is on my website, which is fornarolegal.com. It's my last name, FORNAROLEGAL.com. It's got all my contact information. It's got all my social media on it, and then it's got a bunch of podcasts that I've been on, a bunch of videos I made, a bunch of white papers I wrote, and a bunch of blog articles I wrote that are pretty, at this point, there's a lot of information on there that should be able to answer a lot of people's general questions. But if not, just reach out to me, call me, email me, message me on Facebook, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And all of that will be included in the show notes as well. So, with all that, Matt, so what I do, the way I close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. Just pretend, that young Matthew, fresh out of the University of Florida, is working for a big company, is thinking about transitioning, getting into doing his own thing. Pretend that that young man just has come in, like, what I think you said, like 21 years ago. Pretend that that young man came into the Zoom room, give him some words of encouragement or just kind of talk him through some stuff, and we'll officially close with that.
Sure. It's the same advice I'd give everyone is
Mm-hmm.
do your due diligence, make sure you follow all the rules and do everything. And most importantly, believe in yourself because no matter what you do, what you become, what you don't become, where you go, where you don't go, whatever, you're always there. So you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in what you want to do. So focus on yourself, make yourself the best possible version of yourself, and make sure when you're doing stuff, you do all your due diligence, you do everything correctly, you follow all the rules, you reach out to people to help you, and you'll be successful.
Amen. You nailed it. I love it, man. I love it. All right, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.